This is Powering the Future, a podcast series brought to you by Smart Grid Forums. One planet, one power grid.
What if your home, EV or office could help balance the grid in real time? Mihkel Härm, CEO of Elektrilevi, joins us to explore how Estonia is leading the way with flexibility services and why smart coordination is just as critical as new infrastructure. Hello, Mihkel. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. So, Mihkel, it would be great just to get a quick overview of your role and responsibilities and your priorities as CEO of Elektrilevi as of today, just to give context to the conversation we're about to have.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, Elektrilevi being the biggest DSO in Estonia, our job is to bring electricity to basically every people living in the country. So biggest concern definitely is the reliability of grid, but day by day we get more and more requests for new connections. So connecting new producers of electricity and of course consumers as well is a big concern.
And now, how would you define flexibility at the moment? It's a new term that's emerged in the grid, and I think different people are thinking about it in different ways. For you, what's your definition of flexibility services?
Flexibility is sort of a buzzword. So it is something like we used to have blockchain everything, then we had AI everything. And now when I speak to the regulator or when I speak to the politicians, then flexibility seems to be like the silver bullet to solve all of the problems. Will it be financing? Will it be also new connections or also the reliability part? So everything seems to be flexibility. But actually, when you start to think about what do we mean about it, then first of all, it is the simplest solution, like there is not enough grid capacity. Use flexibility, meaning like people do not want to consume electricity at the same time, or maybe we can make out some kind of scheme for one customer to say that, okay, I'm willing to give you my capacity. So this seems to be the like the mainstream view of what flexibility means, sharing the available grid capacity.
And for you, what are the immediate drivers for flexibility services and what's your roadmap for the future?
Immediate driver would be when we did our 10-year development plan, what is coming from the European legislation as well, that every DSO needs to have their 10-year development plan. So we did it. What we saw was that basically we every year need to invest approximately 150-160 million euros. But the problem is that from the grid tariff each year from the customers, we actually get 40-50 million euros for investments. So there's a huge gap. Basically, 2/3 are missing. Then we went to the regulator, we went to the politicians saying that, look, here is this gap. We have to find a way to fill this gap. Our first solution, of course, was that the grid tariff needs to be a lot higher, or there needs to be some kind of a subsidy scheme. Well, both of these solutions were bad. The first one because people do not want to pay more for the grid. This is something that should be basically free. Politicians also are very like people are votes, and if you increase something that the voters use every day, then this is not good for them. And subsidies or some kind of government money for the investments, this did not fly as well because we need to build roads. There is war going on in Europe. We need to buy more tanks and whatnot. So then we got to this flexibility part. And in a sense, this is actually a good solution. Of course, we as well don't want to build a network where this is not needed, but it brings us to the other side of the coin, so to say, like flexibility is good. Flexibility helps us mitigate a problem, but flexibility does not make your 40 or 50-year-old transformer new again. It does not help you when your grid is well beyond its useful technical lifetime. So in our case, in Estonia, 26% of all of the assets in our grid are beyond their useful technical lifetime. If you read what Euroelectric is saying about Europe as a whole, then the percentages are similar. I believe it's like 30% of Europe's grid is beyond its 40-year useful lifetime. So where did we start? The driver is investments, but flexibility does not help us all the way.
And, when we look to the future, do you see flexibility being quite a significant part of your capacity management strategy, or is it a short-term solution?
I believe it has to be a general tool. Why do I say it? Because when we take the average customer, this typical household who wants to put some solar PV on its roof. So, taking Estonia, a country quite up north where we have long days during the summer and basically no sunlight during the winter months. So, from October to March, this PV that is up on the roof there, it won't cause any problems. So, all of the houses can have it. But when we come to June, then there will be huge congestion, there will be overcapacity, and so this is the flexibility that we need. Saying to the customers that use your PV to help the grid, but when you're starting to create problems, then switch it off or give us the right to dial you down. And well, what have we done since today? In Estonia, we are using two types of connection quotas. So the first one for the small customers, or like below 15 kilowatts, it is a fixed fee. So less than €1,000 and you will get your connection. Or if in some parts of the country we say that there is no free space or spare capacity in the grid, and you will not get the connection. And then there are the bigger ones, above 15 kilowatt, and for them it is cost based. So it used to be a very good solution for the customers because there was plenty of spare capacity in the grid, and cost-based quota was very, very cheap. Nowadays, the capacity has been all used up, and the quotas are in millions of euros. And once again, the problem is we are giving the quotas out based on the worst case scenario. So worst case scenario is that everybody is generating at the same time. There is the minimum consumption that has been in past 5 years, and to connect new customers, we need to build up the grid. We need to build new capacity, and this can cost millions of euros for the customer, and of course he doesn't want it. So we had a very nice example. It was last year, I think, when a developer of a wind park came to us saying that they have already completed a quite a huge wind generator. So I believe it was 2 or 3 megawatts. And now they found out that they had a grid connection, but only for consumption. So they could consume electricity, but they couldn't give anything back to the grid. And the windmill was already there. And then they came asking for a quota for the new connection for generation as well. Of course, it was in the range of 2 to 3 million euros. so didn't make any sense. But then we offered them flexible connection, because right next to this wind park there was a solar park owned by a totally different company, and we said that, look, we can connect you like flexibly. If the solar park is not producing, feel free to use the grid. If sun is shining, then you need to shut your wind park down. And for them, it made a lot of sense economically. For us also, it was a lot quicker to connect this new customer, and it was a win-win scenario. And this is the kind of flexibility that we need in the future as well.
It sounds like it needs a lot of coordination, though. What new skills or new approaches do we need in the grid to be able to coordinate all these flexibility partners effectively? And what are the risks that are involved in that, do you think?
So today we have, this was one example of a pilot project. We have a couple more in our grid, but this is all done by hand. So, well, when I say all done by hand, I do not mean the regulation of up and down. This is done automatically, but when our dispatch center is operating the grid during thunderstorms or events when there is outages in the grid, then they manually have to take into account that this customer has some flexible agreement, this has some other agreement, and this is making our life too complicated. So the first solution is that when we are upgrading our SCADA system, this process is ongoing, then in the new SCADA, we need to have this module that allows us to operate the grid and also give out these flexible new connections. So this has to be automated. And what are the skills needed, or rather the tools needed actually, is these new automatic solutions that if a engineer is calculating how much it will cost to connect a new customer or how much spare capacity there is, he doesn't have to do it by hand. There will be a automated solution for that. If we are operating the grid in our dispatch center, then they need these automatic tools. And well, in the end, when the customer goes to our website, then there should be a tool for him or her to get this automatic quota for new connection, how much it will cost. So these are the tools that we need.
And are these tools already on the market, or do they need development?
There are actually plenty of solutions. So we ourselves had a project together with Envelio, a German startup company, and what we did there together was coming up with this automatic tool for getting a price for new connections and whether or not it is possible to get the new connection wherever the customer wanted on the map. So, but once again, we had this project. It was a nice pilot, but there are still a lot of details that we need to work out before we can actually use it. And this is just one company. There are plenty of others. I met many of them back in March in Hague as well, and there are a lot of very, very interesting solutions on the market. If we are talking about upgrading the SCADA, then Schneider has plenty of useful tools. Siemens has them, so all of them have it. But with all of these big projects, it takes 2 or 3 years before we can actually use them at scale.
And finally, Mihkel, what's your prediction for the future? What do you think is going to be the balance between build and flex, let's say in the next 10 years for your utility?
I would say that it will be, well, 50-50 would be one way to say it, but I actually have to say that it will be 100% built. Because as I said, the grid is aging, we need new infrastructure. But at the same time, all of the new grid that we build will have to be ready for the flex as well. And one interesting part that we didn't cover yet is that if we take the EVs or this flexible load that we already have, if the prices go up too much, then there is flexible load in the system. People will turn off their heating, they will turn off their electric vehicle charging, and they will do it because the price of electricity is too high. But the downside is that when the price of electricity is very cheap, then everybody wants to consume electricity at the same time. And we have had specific substations where the fuses blow because there is too much consumption behind that substation. And historically, we knew that people do not use their coffee makers at the same time, do not use their ovens at the same time. So we sold more capacity than we actually had. But now they have this smart load. They have these smart EV chargers that all switch on because the price now went to zero. And that the grid is not ready for that. And we need to build the grid bigger.
Right, okay. Well, my final question for you, actually, you've triggered a new question, which is around energy storage. And of course, at the moment, you're able, as a grid operator, to procure storage services. But is there an argument for actually owning those assets and controlling them, given the increasing amount of congestion that you're likely to experience going forward?
Yeah, so we actually tried to procure storage as a service. But the problem there was that the suppliers of this storage asked us, so what are the specific hours when we as a DSO want to use this battery? But we said, we do not know. We want to use the battery when there is a problem in the grid, but we do not know it beforehand. And because we couldn't give any guarantees to the suppliers, then they said, okay, fine. Then basically what the DSO is saying that the battery at all times has to be available only for the DSO, meaning that the price was too high. It would make a lot more sense for us to go to the market, just purchase this battery, put it there, it would be cheaper. But the whole idea behind procuring this storage from the market should be that it is more cost effective for the DSO. But because we cannot give out any guarantees that, okay, these are the hours when you can use the battery for whatever ancillary market. So yeah, that's the problem there.
Right, okay. Well, maybe the regulation is up for discussion, and perhaps there are more practical ways to leverage storage for utilities in future. That's a discussion that we'll expand on at SGT 26 in Paris. Thank you so much for your input today, Mihkel. Really appreciate your insights, and looking forward to hopefully seeing you in Paris next year as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.
That's it for this episode. Thank you for watching and listening. Subscribe to Smart Grid Forums on YouTube and your favorite streaming platform. And follow us on LinkedIn for more conversations around the grid.
This is Powering the Future, a podcast series brought to you by Smart Grid Forums. One planet, one power grid.